You're welcome back. Still Politics HQ right here on News Central Television. The Lagos State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal today has upheld the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State's election as governor of the state. The tribunal dismissed the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate in the person of Olajide Adeniran, popularly known as Jandor, against the emergence of Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Obafemi Hamzat. Justice Mikhail Abdullah delivered the judgment on Monday as he reconfirmed INEC's declaration of Babajide Sanwo-Olu as the governor of Lagos State. Sanwo-Olu, currently in his second term, had earlier been declared the winner of the March 18 governorship election and has since resumed office. Well, to delve deeper into these issues on Politics HQ tonight, we have two firebrand guests. First up is Dr. Dayo Kayode. Dr. Kayode is a public affairs analyst. He joins us from Lagos. We also have Dayo Akintobi. He is a public affairs analyst. He joins us from London in the United Kingdom. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'll start with you, Dr. Kayode. Incidentally, you both have the name Dayo, so I would have to go with the surnames. It seems a number of preliminary objections to the petition of the People's Democratic Party were granted. The APC had quite a number of preliminary objections. For instance, objection regarding joining the Labour Party and joining its governorship candidate, Gbadebo Rhodesviver, in the PDP's petition. It also had objections regarding other issues. And a couple of these objections were granted. To you, is this indicative that the PDP's case was probably not watertight?
Yes, thank you for bringing me on your platform this evening to come and discuss this trending issue in Lagos State. And I'm going to submit all my utterances tonight under a particular caption: the doctrine of legal expectations. The doctrine of legal expectations. What do I mean by legal expectations? These are the dictates, stipulations of our Constitution, coupled with the guidelines and regulations guiding electoral matters in our land. And what does that portend as regards the judgment of today? Now, the candidate of PDP, popularly known as Jandor, put forward that number one, the primaries that brought in Sanwo-Olu, acclaimed winner of the election, was not conducted according to the regulations guiding primaries. People were brought to court to come and testify. And I can remember vividly, especially when that particular issue was being discussed, that yes, the primaries that brought in Sanwo-Olu of APC was conducted by the State Executive Council instead of from the national. What does that portend to our judiciary? That's number one.
Okay.
Number two.
Very quickly, please.
This same guideline stipulates that all your submissions, your forms to INEC must be under oath, of which the running mate of Sanwo-Olu failed to adhere to. Number three, he also said, listen, somebody had lied to INEC before, but claiming he had never. Now, you are now putting the whole thing as if they are all party issues. And you are now saying pre-election matters. Even when you are now talking of pre-election matters, are you saying there are no post-election matters according to our constitution?
Well, Dayo, thank you very much. So, for want of time, so I guess what you're saying is that the party probably didn't do its homework well. You've rightly said that one of the issues raised, preliminary objections raised by the All Progressives Congress, had to do with pre-election issues on the qualification of the deputy governor, and also on whether the governor complied with the Electoral Act, in terms of the conduct of the primary election. Then, of course, the court, like we said earlier, decided to strike out the LP and its governorship candidate from the PDP's petition, saying that you cannot bring in a loser to defend. A loser can't bring in a loser. You must bring a winner. So I go over to you, Dayo, joining us from the UK. Dayo Akintobi. What are your thoughts on this? The fact that parties like your counterpart on this program, fellow Dayo Kayode, has said parties go to court and make mistakes like this, knowing what exactly the precedent has been, even in this current election cycle.
Well, it's interesting to note that the way the judiciary works, the way, and I think that's what my colleague was trying to say, basically is that the law, especially jurisprudence at this level, where so much is at stake, the law is clearly spelled out what conduct is supposed to carry the day in election processes. And it's very easy to hold it up to scrutiny and know whether the laid down procedures were followed or not. I think the writing was clearly already on the wall, because when you look at the final scores at the end of the day, that the person who won had 700 and something odd votes, and the person who was second got about half of that, and the person who was third got about a quarter or less. And you look at it and you say, really? What is electioneering all about if not the will of the people? And you look at those 762,000 votes compared to the runner-up who got 312, and you say, how? What manner of malpractice could have occurred that would invalidate a more than double lead in terms of the will of the people? So I look at it and I say, well, okay, I'm not a lawyer, maybe a political scientist, but if I start splitting hairs and scrutinizing the minutiae of the judgment, at the end of the day, what it says to the average Nigerian simply is that the person who was declared the winner by INEC was properly declared the winner. Not many of us have the capability to pass the judgments microscopically, to be able to understand the legal jargon or the technicalities, or even whether they alleged rigging or whatever. But what we know and what we see is that these are the numbers that INEC declared, and the burden to overcome that declaration, the person who is challenging must really have absolutely ironclad and strong basis for this challenge. The burden of proof is on that person, and I put it to you that that burden is extremely high and difficult to reach. And I dare say not too many have been able to overcome that burden historically. So I'm not surprised at the outcome, really. Because at the end of the day, how much do we really want the judiciary being the one picking our candidates or our...
Dayo, thank you. Interesting, you talked about the burden of proof. The court, in its judgment, described Abdulaziz Adina of the PDP, aka Jando, as a busybody. That's one of the things he said. But the judgment mentioned, stay with you, or I'll go back to you, Dr. Dayo Kayode. The judgment mentioned that the issues raised by the petitioners were pre-election matters, and like you've already said, it held that only an aspirant or member of a political party can complain about the outcome of the party's primary not a busybody like the petitioner. That's the quote from the court. So the petitioners had said that our APC, this is PDP now, in their petition, did not comply with INEC's timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general election, which stipulated that all political parties must, as a matter of fact, give 21 days notice to INEC before the conduct of their primary election. Now, if this is the case, whether it's a pre-election matter or not, what's your take on this issue? The fact that petitions are being struck out around the country in these election cases for reasons as this, as it affects, the elections. What do you think this portends for future elections? Do you see this as an aspect of our electoral law that needs amending, that if there's something that the members of a party, because of being good party men, decide to hush about? But I know, as a member of the opposing party, that is against the electoral law, and INEC doesn't say anything about it. Why can't I go to the court and say, hey, hold on a minute, I know elections are gone, but see, this man didn't follow due process. Do you think we should amend our electoral law to reflect this and allow, candidates or opponents, take the winner to court and say you didn't do the right thing?
Yes. Much as I will not want to comment more because of our time on the issue of busybody being mentioned by the jurists, let me talk about this post-election, pre-election and post-election. You see, as I was saying the other time, post-election matters are the matters that arose within political parties before elections are being held. While pre-election matters are matters that had happened before the proper election and has a direct effect on other contestants, and that's why we call it post-election.
But do we need to amend our electoral law? Because if you didn't do the right thing, even if INEC keeps quiet, even if your party men, for being good party men, keep quiet, someone should be able to take you up on that.
Listen, between you and me, there is nothing wrong totally as regards our electoral laws. But the people managing it, it is about the people that are always looking for one lap. Okay, listen, look at Kano judgment. I was on this same your platform discussing it, whereby the jurist specifically mentioned procedure, that what happened there was outside the procedure. And on this same your platform, I hammered it, procedure, that I am now waiting for the tribunal in Lagos.
Because of time, please permit me to ask the last question to Dayo Akintobi. Yes, Dayo Akintobi, very quickly, please. The tribunal declared, that Governor Sanwo-Olu and his deputy Hamzat, were eminently qualified to contest that governorship election. Also noting that the qualifications are clear. You have Section 182 and 177 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The judge noted that they are members of a political party. Number one, they are educated up to school certificate level. Number two, what are your thoughts of the trend of striking out petitions with recourse to the above-mentioned sections of the Constitution when there are other things that people are complaining about and the court say, no, well, they fulfilled this one, so everything is insignificant? Very quickly, please.
Yes, the lowest common denominator to run for office in Nigeria are those two criteria. You must belong to a political party and you must be educated to a certain minimum level. Everything else emanates from that denominator. So that's the first level of inquiry. And some jurists are satisfied that if you meet that threshold of those pre-qualifications, those very basic rudimentary qualifications, then nothing else about your application in terms of your qualification to contest, nothing else matters. You've met the threshold. Well, I would say there are other things to consider. You've been convicted of a crime. I beg your pardon? Have you been? There are other criteria.
Okay, gentlemen, we're out of time. We're out of time. Ask both if you think so. Well, we wait to see what the parties say if they will appeal. I don't know if Jando will appeal. We'll wait to hear what the Labour Party will get, and if they will also appeal if they're struck out. But thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. Dr. Kayode Dayo Kayode, a public affairs analyst, and Dayo Akintobi also, as well, a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.